Lights red. We're live. Welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We're in the Joe Lay & Sons Plumbing Studios here tonight. I'm with the Bluegrass Bricker, Jeff Alsip. Jeff, thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, you've had a pretty long career.
Yeah.
How long's it been? You retired?
Yes, I quit. I guess it's been 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, 2 or 3 years.
And started racing at Florence in '93, I believe it was.
93.
Yeah, 93.
What was that like? What kind of car was you racing back in 93?
I bought a car off Roger Williams.
Okay.
It was a 87 or 88 Howell car. It was an asphalt modified.
Yeah.
And had a little 355 in it.
All right.
It had the big Nerf bars on the side of it.
So this was modified?
Yeah.
Okay, so you started in modified.
Modified.
I didn't know that.
At the Florence, yes. And it was a lot different back then. I mean, you had, I believe it was a $500 claimer rule on all the engines out there.
Really?
Yeah, you could, and it was a cheap
way
way to get in. I mean,
I remember when the modifieds first started, but that was a long time before that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I bought that off of Roger, turnkey, $3,500.
Not bad.
No, for race ready, and it was an asphalt chassis.
Right.
And
how did it do on dirt?
Did pretty good. We actually I hot lapped it, and then my buddy Willie Green jumped in it, and it was north-south weekend.
Oh, Willie.
Yeah, and Willie went out there, and that thing set fast time with it.
Okay.
Feature race, he won his heat race. Feature race, he was running third, and wasn't going to win. So he pulled in and said transmission was out. so I went out there after the races was over and thinking I was going to need a tow or something like that, but I jumped in the thing and drove it right back in and put it in the trailer.
Went fine.
Yeah, it was fine. Willie did not. Willie was the type of person did not want to run second or third. But
I know a lot of guys like that, but I mean they don't want to, but they will. I mean,
yeah.
It seems like I've seen a few guys pull off. If they're not leading the race, they'll just pull off.
The track was super black slick that night. I remember it was black slick.
But that used to be common back then.
Yeah, it was, and it was, that little 355 engine.
Right.
Probably was lucky if it put out 450 horsepower.
Yeah.
And,
but again, a black slick track, you can get away with a little motor.
And Willie had been driving a little bit of asphalt at that time. Maybe it might have been a few years earlier at Queen City Speedway, so the track was slick.
Okay.
And it was perfect for him that night. But
so that was something it was his forte.
And he was good that night. I mean, and I think Roger about crapped his pants when he said it goes so fast out there. But we was tickled to death. But that was the first night I had it out there, and then I ran it after that. The next year, I think ran it. They might have had one race after the North-South, and then I ran it the next year.
Okay.
And, I was mid-pack guy, and then I was out there just
that's
having fun.
respectful for your first and second year racing.
Yeah, and I was out there having fun, and then the bug got to me, and then after that I went and bought a brand new laser chassis, and that's when.
So you stepped up to was modified or
another modified.
Still mod, okay.
I bought another modified and went to Jim Bernheisel and bought a laser chassis off of him, and it was when the 4 bars had just came out.
Yeah.
And we had no idea what was going on with them, and I had Wool, Gary Clayton, he was back helping me back then, and we tried to figure things out. We just never could get it going very good. So I think I had that for maybe 2 years and sold it, and then went back to a swing arm Lightning car.
I feel like those were a lot of experimental days.
They were.
When the mods started getting the 4 bars and the Z-Links and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it was just kind of crazy because nobody really had a whole lot of information. And I mean, Jim was kind of, Bernheisel, he was kind of one of the first ones that put that together with those mods, the laser mods back then. And we were trying to figure things out. I'll be honest, I'm not much of a mechanic, so all I was doing was driving, and it was just like, we were going nowhere.
But was you having fun though?
Oh, I was having a blast. Spending money like I had it.
Spend it like you got it. I remember like when Billy Vaughn and Davey McWilliams.
Yeah.
When they got them Intimidator cars, and man, they were jacking those things all up. I was like, whoa, this is crazy stuff going on here.
Yeah, it was crazy. When I mean, they started eventually getting those lined out, and then we sold that laser car, or I sold that laser car, and Wool had I believe it was an 89 or an 88 Lightning.
Okay.
It was a leaf spring car, and we raced it. I raced it. Brandon Green raced it a few times. Willie raced it.
Yeah.
You know, we were kind of just going back and forth racing it, and actually got my first win in that car down at Richmond.
Really?
Yeah. Had to fight our way out of that place because it wasn't real. I think I jumped one of the favorites back there on the last lap, and he had a brand new race car, and I can't remember what that boy's name was, but yeah, we were not well liked down there when we left. So
I feel like a few other people have kind of had the same scenario maybe down there. Maybe they're not very Florence friendly, or they don't like drivers from the north coming down and taking a win.
No, not back then. Right now, it's not nearly like that used to be. But I mean, back then it was just, you were, messing with somebody else's territory.
Yeah.
It was pretty, But we drove that, and then we were at the Johnny Appleseed, and I went up there with Troy Green, and we had that modified up there, and we was in the last chance race, and come out of turn 4, and we were 4 wide, and I slid up in front of a guy, and he caught me in a quarter panel, and that was the first time I ever flipped up there.
Oh, really?
And I actually hit the catch fence.
How did that feel?
It was real quiet going through there. then you hit a sudden boom. But we went up through there, and I hit the top of the catch fence, went that high, and almost took the flagman out.
Wow.
I went by, and the flagman was covering his head like that, and we was way up in the air and then come down.
You didn't give him a high five or nothing?
No. I landed on top of the boy that turned me on top of his car on the carburetor and snapped it off of his car, and then Troy come running out there because I was going after the guy.
Yeah.
And Troy grabbed me and he said, "Don't fight." He said, "Earl does not put up with that stuff. And if you start a fight out here, you're going to be gone for
a long time."
Yeah. So, and
you already put on a show. You didn't. You didn't need to put on more of a show.
We were definitely a crowd pleaser that night.
Wow.
So, but it was fun. Yeah. And
so would you say was that your worst wreck ever?
No, the worst wreck I ever had was at Kentucky Speedway.
All right, let's talk about that. Now, this is the ARCA days.
Right.
Okay. How long after the modified, or how long did you do the modified before you guys, or was there anything in between?
We ran a couple late model races before we ran.
So you didn't go just from modified straight to ARCA?
No, I ran. I didn't run many late model races, and I actually, I mean, when I started racing, I grew up racing go-karts, and to kind of turn back a little bit, we raced at Florence Speedway in go-karts.
Yeah, the old go-kart track was where the pond used to be off of turn 3 there.
Yeah, I raced out there. It was, some of the guys, myself, Audie McWilliams, Willie raced out there, Green, Ricky Corbin.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of Stan Freeman.
Do you remember, okay, so you raced there. Do you remember when they raced the go-karts, then like the intermission or afterwards, they do the kids would have the foot races.
Yeah.
Around it. Yeah. I remember the very first time I beat Josh King in a foot race.
That probably wasn't hard.
No, it was harder than you think. Back then when we were kids.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, we, Chuck McWilliams ran that thing, and it was nothing on a Friday night to see 200 go-karts out there.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was incredible. And before they opened that track up, we used to run at Berea.
Okay.
And that's where I actually got started at down there. When I started racing was Berea, and before that I'd ran some motorcycles in Pendleton County Motocross and different things.
Did some two-wheel stuff.
Yeah, and then we went to Berea. I think I bought two go-karts, me and a friend of mine, and went down to Berea to race, and I think we paid $300 for both go-karts, and they had little 91 McCalls on it.
Okay, yeah.
So we went down there and raced, and first time I'd ever been in a race, on anything like that. So I was down there with that buddy of mine, and then Willie's dad, and I didn't know. that they completely inverted the field when you qualified.
Oh, okay.
So the whole time, Willie and Bill was telling me I was fast qualifier. You're fast. You're sitting on the front row and all this. Well, here they had inverted the whole thing, and I didn't know.
So that actually put you on a tail.
Yeah.
For those who don't know what an invert means,
yeah.
If you're inverted, you're to the tail.
Yeah, but instead of inverting to the tail, I was slow qualifier. So they put me on the pole, and the whole time they were telling me I was fastest.
A little reverse psychology for you.
Okay. So, you know, went into the first corner, and I didn't know what I was doing. Spun out, and you know, Willie and Bill's over there with that laugh, and just laughing their butts off at me. But,
having a good time.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I had so much fun down there with Billy Vaughn's dad. I mean, he raced go-karts down there, and we had a blast. And I remember one night down there, he was there, and he was racing this old blue SAE kart, and he was coming around for a checkered flag, and somebody hit him, and he flipped. And if you knew Bill Vaughn, you knew that he's always running around with a crack of his ass hanging out.
Okay.
So all I could see, Bill was right in front of me, and all I could see was that he wore an old black leather jacket and blue jeans when he was racing.
Yeah.
And all I could see him going through the air was a crack of his rear end hanging out, and he was going flipping through the air, and it was just like, oh my God. But yeah, and then I think Billy was maybe 10 or 12 years old at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is going back a little ways. I'm not saying he's old or anything, but that's going back a little
Yeah,
ways.
that's going back a ways, yeah. And then, I mean, I had blast down there doing that stuff. That was probably the funnest times I ever had, was racing those little go-karts down in Berea. Yeah. There's no stress, you know, you didn't have to worry about this or that. And it was before everybody soaked their tires and go-karts.
This is all about fun.
It was just all about fun. Yeah, I mean, we didn't even get any money. Down there, we got trophies.
So when you got into a car, is that when the fun went away?
Yeah.
Or when you got into the expensive cars?
That's when the addiction started.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't really the fun, it was the addiction started. Okay. And I mean, people tell you, they'll say, you know, racing is worse than alcohol or drugs. I mean, it can be, and it can, you know, I've seen it destroy a lot of families. I've seen it destroy a lot of, you know, people with money and stuff like that. But I mean, it's, you know, it is fun and it's addicting, and it's
like, I feel it's almost like anything. You've got to be able to control it. You've got to control your finances. You got to make yourself accountable for your decisions and what you do, you know.
Yeah, I've seen over the years, I've seen people come out there and, you know, have $150,000 trucks and trailers back then, and you know, and then go home and are, you know, living in the slums. But it's just, you know, that's what made people happy. That's what they got to do, you know.
Right. Everybody makes their own choices, and it's not for me to
life's too short.
Judge or knock anybody. Hey, if that's what you want, then more power to you.
And that's what racing to me is about. It's that Saturday night rush that you get out there, and the people that are in the grandstands, they don't know where you live. They don't care where you live. They want you running up front. You know, your fans do and stuff like that, and it's just it's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, so let's fast forward. We kind of jumped around a little bit. We're going to go from go-karts. You dabbled with some late models. Then you decided to go ARCA racing.
Yeah.
Tell us about the ARCA days.
Well, it started out with myself and Willie. We're going to go speedway racing. Okay. We went to Charlotte, North Carolina, and bought two Roush cars.
Okay.
I bought one of Johnny Benson's cars.
Okay.
And I believe Willie bought one of Chad Little's cars. Okay. And we went down there and bought two cars. I had some guys back home that were backing me and stuff like that. And I'd called a buddy of mine, Wayne Bach, that owned Independence Lumber at that time. And I told him, I said, we got a deal down here on the motor. I said, you know, I don't have enough money for the car and the motor and everything. So Wayne's a diehard Chevy fan, and we ended up buying a Ford. But he helped me out to get that Ford motor, and it was a Mark Smith motor from TriStar. And we got that. And
what kind of numbers, ballpark? What are we talking for an ARCA car?
Back then, that was in 98, I believe, 99, maybe 2000.
Probably a fraction of what they cost now.
Yeah, I mean, the car itself back then was like 25 grand.
Okay.
And then I believe the motor was, I want to say, right around $15,000 back then.
Okay. So not as much as I would have thought.
That's back then.
Back then, that's a lot of money.
The same thing now. Used, you're probably talking $150,000.
Wow. Each.
Yeah, and then I mean, I had to buy the transmissions, and we knew some. Bill Green knew some people down there, in Charlotte that dealt with that and stuff like that. And we went and got all that together. Came back up here. We started a corporation called Master Motorsports.
Okay.
And I went out there and practiced one night. They had practice down there, an open practice.
Kentucky Speedway.
At Kentucky Speedway. Okay. I went down there and practiced, and then Willie got in the car and he practiced, and he kind of was showing me which way to do it and stuff like that, where to run. And, had a good car. I mean, the car had been wind tunnel tested, and it was a really good car. Well, then I went into the corner and in happy hour, we were kind of scuffing tires because the Hoosier tire they had at that time, people were having trouble with the right side tires were blowing out.
Okay.
So they were actually giving us 2 tires for the price of 1 down there. But I went in there and was scuffing tires. Actually, it was before happy hour because we were getting ready to qualify the next day, and went into turn 1 and blew a right front tire and went into the wall.
Ooh.
And hit the wall probably, I don't know, 170, 180.
Wow.
And that was before, you didn't have this head and neck restraints.
Yeah.
You didn't have the full containment seats.
They didn't have safer barrier walls.
No soft walls.
Okay.
And, I hit that wall, and Willie was crew chiefing for me, and he kept coming on the radio, and he kept saying, you okay? You okay? Put your window net down if you're all right. Well, I could hear him on the radio, but I couldn't move my body, and it was like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
I thought I'd died and went to, something had happened.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But I finally got to push the talk radio, the button, and I said, I can hear you. I said, but I can't move my arm to lower the window net down. So he come back on the radio with that goofy ass laugh he's got. He's laughing at me about that radio, hitting the wall. He goes, "You'll be all right. You'll be all right." Well, safety crew come over there, and they've tucked the window net down and took me to the infield care center and stuff like that, and went in there. And I guess they said this is what happens when you hit those walls. Your internal organs in your brain and everything keeps going, but your body stops because you're strapped in.
I think they call that inertia.
I don't.
There's a big word for that. It may not be it, but it sounds
above
right.
my grade. But yeah, we did that, and then ran a couple more races down there. Didn't qualified pretty decent on one race, and I think we qualified 22nd one night, and then ended up, I don't know, 18th or something like that down there.
Okay, so I feel like I may have been to one of your ARCA races down there. I've only been at the Kentucky Speedway a handful of times, and a handful of laps after it starts, a handful of laps later, I'm just like, all right, now what? What do we do till the end? Because this isn't. I'm used to dirt flying, and just like this is all right. Just ain't cutting it.
Yeah.
But it seems like I remember there was a football coach, former football coach,
Jerry Glanville
from the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
He was racing there.
Yeah, him and Willie were not very good friends.
Okay. I couldn't remember if it was you and him who
no, it was Willie,
or him and Willie. Yeah, I remember one of you guys didn't get along.
Yeah, I was actually crew chiefing for Willie at the time, and we had, let's say, a little bit more fuel in our car than what everybody else did. So we were running. I guess everybody else was running like. I believe around 58, 59 laps before they needed to come in for fuel.
Yeah.
Well, everybody came in for fuel except Willie. Well, Willie kept going out there, and he ended up running like 68 laps.
Oh, okay.
So Willie was actually a lap ahead of everybody, and a caution came out. So Willie came in and pitted and come back out. Well, he actually had to go to the tail, but he was the leader, if that makes sense, because everybody else was ahead of him, and they started ahead. But Willie was like almost a full track ahead of everybody.
Right.
So, and at the same time, Glanville came in and did something. I don't know if he fixed tires or what. Well, they raced, I guess, maybe 5 or 6, 7 laps, and Glanville come in there and hit Willie in the back end and turned Willie sideways and ran him up the track. and Willie hit the wall, and I mean, it was just a big ball of fire when it happened, and we went down to Glanville's pits, and we're, arguing and screaming back, and then the camera would come on, and then everybody would just kind of shut up, and
we're being good. We're not.
Yeah, we're not doing nothing. Well, we're back there, bull crap, hollering, back and forth and everything. When everything cools down, and their jack guy comes up to me, and I was ready to square off with one of their guys. It was a tire changer. So this big jack guy comes over to me, and he says, "Hey, you gonna mess with him? You gonna mess with me?" Well,
okay.
Tony Rowland was our jack guy. Tony comes over and says, "Hey, you gonna mess with him? You're gonna mess with me."
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's equal the playing field.
Everybody's breaking everything up and stuff, and then we start going back to the garage. Well, I see Darren Littrell. He reaches into the window and grabs Glanville by the side of his suit, and he's trying to get a hold of Glanville. And then Glanville reaches over and grabs him and just throws him backwards. And Darren walks over. He goes, "That old man's strong." I said, "Yeah." I said, he's a football coach. You're not going to intimidate him,
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So then everything kind of cools down. Willie's back in the garage, and we're all walking. We get the pit box and push it all back to the garage. Well, we go back there in the garage, and all the cameras are running back there, running by us, and we're going, well, there must be something going on. Well, here Willie's got Glanville by the throat over the car hood, ready to hit him. And that's like, oh my gosh. Well, then as soon as I'm hollering, Willie, camera. Well, he lets go of him, and Glanville kind of, they start talking and stuff like that. The cameras did. What was going on back there? And oh, well, we just talking and stuff like that.
Yeah, we were discussing what happened.
It was definitely, that was fun.
That was fun. That's a good story.
Oh, yeah. And we went to, after that, went to Charlotte. I had Daryl's crew chief, Bobby Simpson. Okay. He helped me set my car up and stuff. And we went down there and tested it Charlotte, and that's when Ryan Newman was running ARCA.
Right.
Well, I knew Buddy Baker because I'd went to his dad, Buck Baker, had a driving school.
Okay.
And to get a license to drive on the speedway, you had to go to a 3-day thing with his dad. And let me tell you, his dad, he was a crazy old man. Yeah. He took us around Rockingham over 100 miles an hour in a 8-passenger window van.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And that was just neat. And back then, I didn't think nothing about Buck Baker, who,
Yeah, whatever.
So, but he knew that I'd went to his driving school and stuff, and we're down there at Charlotte, and Buddy Baker's he kind of on the roof watching Ryan Newman, and I went over and I talked to him, and I said, can you tell me what I'm doing wrong and stuff? And he says, yeah, you need to do this, you need to do that, and know. So we started picking up some speed down there when he was helping us. Well, we went, Brian Newman was coming in like every 10 laps putting new tires on. Well, I'm down there running 55, 60 laps with these tires on. Well, Newman decides to do a qualifying run. Okay. And I'm down on the bottom in 3 and 4. He comes down the bottom of 3 and 4 and kind of just scoots me out of the way. And I'm, I don't know if you've been to Charlotte, it's almost like wide open around that track. Yeah. And I'm, all over this, and I walk over there, and I'm like, I asked Buddy, I said, what was that all about? He goes, you got in his way. He said, you got to move. I was going as fast as I wanted to.
Wow.
But, I mean, it's just the people that you meet in ARCA and stuff. I mean, it was fun. I'm glad that I did it. It was way out of my league, but it's so political. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I've heard that about other people that went and tried to do asphalt stuff.
Yeah, it's just... And at that time, I mean, I was down there with, Rick Hendrick's son, Ricky Hendricks. He was down there at the time. Kerry Earnhardt was down there. Right. I mean, you got Ryan Newman, and I'm down there trying to compete with those guys. Yeah. So, but we went back in the race, and the crew that I had was like a bunch of fum-dums. I mean, I think I had Pierce Foster Pierce was there. He was doing the fuel, going to do the fuel, and then Billy Vaughn. I think Tony Brewer was with us, Larry Moses, and we had a guy, Bob Schulenberg, that was friends of us. He was down there, and we went down there, and actually there was probably close to 60 cars down there. and we qualified 32nd.
Okay, and they were taking they took how many?
They took 30. I think 36 was allowed, and the rest of them were provisionals.
Okay.
They were starting 42 of them.
Yeah.
But we ended up dropping a valve. So we ran all over the place trying to find a motor, trying to find this, trying to find that, and then ended up not getting to race.
Right.
But, that was probably to be down there and run with those guys and stuff. And, I mean, that track was
it had to be an experience to get to do that and try it.
It was. And, I mean, like I said, the people that we met and stuff like that. Yeah.
So how long did you do ARCA for?
I did it for, I believe, 2 years, but we only ran a handful of races. Maybe 6 races.
Yeah. It's not like you ran the entire season.
No.
Okay.
We had plans to run for a Rookie of the Year in the second year, and actually had a sponsor company called Seco Building Systems. They were out of Texas.
Okay.
And George Spilley George Huser from BL Spilley Construction, he was helping me with all that and stuff. And we had met with them once or twice, and they actually came to Kentucky Speedway, and they were gonna, we went over some numbers and stuff like that.
Right. What it would take and stuff like that.
What it would take, and it was like, at that time, to run the whole series was like going to be like 1.2 million or something like that. So
that's some guys' dirt budgets nowadays, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
There are dirt teams that have that kind of budget. Like, wow.
Absolutely. And then, we met back and forth. Well, then they come back, they were wanting to try to do the whole thing for 500,000, and there was just no way that could be done.
Yeah, that's tough.
So
what would it cost you to do tires for a weekend?
The first race I ran at Kentucky Speedway was the tire bill was $10,500
for one weekend.
For one weekend. And
okay, never mind.
Yeah, and the race only paid $12,500 to win it.
Oh,
so
that makes perfect sense.
Oh yeah, it was just like everything else. But and I'll never forget. I went down there the first day or the first race down there, and Frank Kimmel come up to me and he told me, he said, "Don't go out there and try to win."
Yeah.
He said, "Just go out there and try to be smooth and enjoy yourself."
Yeah.
And I mean, Frank, he's helped so many people in ARCA racing and stuff like that.
He ruled that for a long time.
I mean, it was just like
he was like the Mark Martin of the Busch series, or whatever it is now.
Yeah. He's a good man. I mean, he always helped the younger guys.
Yeah.
And he wasn't actually much older than me, but I was a rookie, and he had been there for a few years. So.
He knew that, hey, somebody needs some coaching.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because they would have a rookie meeting before we would go out to race and stuff, and Frank was the one that spoke to us.
Oh, okay.
So it was I met a lot of very intelligent people as far as racing when I ran ARCA.
Right.
But like I said, it was very political.
Okay.
And then we had fun.
Great experience. Glad you did it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But then you came back to dirt.
And then it came back to dirt.
There we go. Let's talk some more dirt now. All right. So when you come back to dirt, where'd you go back in? You modified, late model? Where'd you land
back to late models?
Back to late models.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mom got sick in 2001, and she passed away in late 2001. And she told me when she was sick, she had cancer and passed away from cancer and stuff. And she told me, she said, "I'd really appreciate if you'd never race any asphalt ARCA again," because she would never go to Kentucky Speedway.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
She did not want me racing down there and do that. So when she passed away, we ended up buying a late model from, I believe it was one of Daryl's cars. It was an old Masterbuilt.
Okay.
It was wasn't real old. I believe it was a 98 or 99 Masterbuilt. It was bought off Daryl. And got it and ran it a few times. Actually had the ARCA motor and put it in that car.
Really?
And ran the steel block ARCA motor in there. And
everything there worked out okay?
It worked out real well. I mean, it was it was a little slow on starts because it was a Speedway engine.
Right.
But once you got wound up.
Maybe a good Eldora motor.
Yeah, once you got wound up. And actually I had Brandon Green drive it over there at the Harley race at Brush Creek.
Oh, yeah.
And Brandon was in the Fast Dash, won the Dash, He was actually running second or third and passed Scott James and Jackie Boggs to take the lead over there. Well, the track was so dusty that night you couldn't see anything.
Right.
And Scott came up through there. The caution come out, and Scott come up through there and hit Brandon in the rear end. And we didn't. You couldn't see. It wasn't Scott's fault. It was just so dusty.
Yeah, you couldn't see.
You couldn't see the flagman or anything. There was no lights out there, and that's back when that track was 5/8 of a mile. So I mean,
this was the old D-shaped tri-oval.
Yeah. I think it had 6 turns in it. But
I thought 29. Yeah, we'll say 6.
It was. And when they had a caution, and then Brandon was fine. It was, when we had that ARCA motor, and he took off again, and he just was probably half a track ahead of everybody.
Really?
And there was maybe 10 laps left in the race, and I'm sitting there thinking, how are we going to divide this Harley up? We got this Harley.
How are we going to do this? Oh boy.
Well, I didn't know that when Scott had hit him, the little L-shaped bracket on top of the battery that holds the battery in place, the nuts weren't tight on that. So when Scott had hit him, it had jarred that battery. Well, that battery went up and hit that angle with about 15 laps to go and shorted the battery out, and the motor just died. We couldn't figure out what it was. Just everything died out there.
Oh, man. Heartbreak hotel.
Yeah. But, we had that little ARCA motor. It ran good.
Yeah.
And then we did really well with it.
I wonder how many of those Harleys Jackie won. It seemed like
oh my gosh,
he probably got a garage full of them.
I'd say he did. He had, I'd say he won 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, at least.
He was tough over there. He was tough. And then Brandon was young at the time, so Brandon had that. And Brandon's still a good driver. There's no doubt about that. Brandon's still a good driver, but yeah, we ran that ARCA motor and then put it in that Masterbuilt and ran it for a while, and then. After that, I guess we ran maybe till, I want to say 2014 super lates, and it was just.
It's getting expensive.
Getting expensive, and I was
this time frame, it's getting expensive.
It was going nowhere, and I'd been out there at Florence for 14, 15 years, and longer than that when you count the modified, and never won a feature out there.
Right.
So I talked to John Weber, and I told John, I said, because I was driving for John at the time, and I said, we got to do something. I said, I'm just getting.
Now, did you take some time off, or did you just change?
I actually took time off, and I guess, I don't remember what year it was. There was 2 or 3 years there that we.
Because I felt like you maybe stepped away for a minute. Say a minute, like a year or two, and then come back at it again.
Yeah, I sold everything out. I sold to Rick Jones at Synesis. He takes care of Josh now, sponsors him, and a guy named Mike Amell was driving at that time for Rick, and I sold everything out to Rick. He bought my hauler, and he bought the car and everything like that, and I was done and wasn't going to race again and stuff like that. I had a newborn at the time, and ended up going through a divorce, and because of the racing and stuff like that, and then ended up getting back into the racing after all that's happened. And John Weber called me up, and he said I've got an old Rayburn over here. He said, if you want to race it, you can run it.
Okay.
I said, yeah, why not? So
it's beating the one I don't have.
Yeah. So I went over and got the old Rayburn off of him. I think it was a 2007 or something like that, Rayburn. And we ended up, John had a old Buick motor over there, 10 degree, that Audi had actually ran. Audi ran that motor at Eldora and ran, I believe he ran third with it one time up there.
Really? Oh, we got a bite. Somebody's calling.
Petey Ivy.
We'll call him back.
Yeah, I'll tell you. But
tell him we're busy.
We ended up getting the
Buick
Rayburn and the Buick motor.
Okay.
10 degree Buick motor that Audi had raced, and we ended up putting that in there, and we ran good. It was way down on horsepower, but I ran that, and then tore it up over at Moeller. Ended up in a bad wreck over there, and had to get air carried out of there.
Really?
Yeah. They took us to that little Band-Aid station up the street up there.
Oh, Mount Orb there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'd got knocked out when.
It's like a first aid kit.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I don't mean anything bad.
I know.
I probably know some people that work there, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. But yeah.
Yeah, but we ended up going over there, and then they air carried me over to UC Trauma Center and stuff,
Okay.
and we tore that Rayburn up. I was up against the wall, and one of the concrete blocks that they have on the back chute was sticking out into the track about 12 inches.
Ooh.
And I caught that with the front of the car. And,
wow.
You know, if you know me, I don't run the wall anyway. I'm always on the bottom. So I was up there right against the wall where I shouldn't have been anyway, and then caught that and then flipped the car and
ouch.
Ended up getting knocked out and unconscious. And they had to cut me out.
So you think this would have been your worst wreck? Or the one at Kentucky Speedway?
The one at Kentucky Speedway would have been.
Okay.
I mean, it knocked me for a loop, but the one I guess because the one at Kentucky Speedway was so fast.
Yeah. It really rung your bell.
Yeah, and I knew it was coming. With the one at Moeller, I didn't know what was going to happen. It just knocked me out, and they ended up cutting me out of there. And like I said, they took me to the UC Trauma Center. And then after that Rayburn, I believe that might have been. We got a rocket off of there. I ended up buying a rocket off of there.
So you ran Super and Rocket for a little while.
Yeah.
When did you go? Because I know you finished your career in a crate car, right? You ran crates for a while.
Yes. Yeah.
When did you make that move?
2014 or 15, I believe it was.
Okay.
Might have been 14. Yeah. Ended up crates and ended up buying a motor off P.D. Ivy down in North Carolina.
The guy that just called you.
Yeah, the guy that just called me.
Perfect timing.
But we bought a motor off of him. It was a Hendren engine, and went out there.
Completely legal.
Oh yeah, completely legal. Yeah, but we went out there and ran it, and you know, we got close to some wins that first year. We ended up second to points, and I'm like, this is fun.
This might be my speed here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I think the following year we ran and lost to Grant by like 9 or 10 points. Oh. Grant won. And then the third year we won a championship out there. And then I think the fourth year we ended up losing by 1 point to Josh Dietz. And,
man, talk about a close one.
We were close for a lot of time, and then we won some features out there. And we won a double feature out there one night that they had, and I really enjoyed racing the crates.
Yeah.
I mean, I had,
it was fun again.
It was fun. Yeah,
okay.
It was definitely fun again, and I mean, when we ran the supers, I had. Went to Florida. I did all that stuff, racing down there. Got a reality check, and I mean, I had
speed weeks. That'll check you right now.
2 years in a row. I went down there with a buddy of mine. He was working for McCready, but he went to work for Richard Childress, Philip Snell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Philip. Okay. Philip got right out of high school and right out of college and started helping me and stuff. And I send him pictures all the time of him welding up his little Hornet roll cage in there when we built those Hornets and stuff. And he just, Philip's done really well for himself, but he works at Richard Childress now. But,
nice.
I
remember when he helped McCready.
Yeah. He helped Freddie. He helped me, and then he helped Freddie.
Was he from around here originally?
Yeah, he's from Brandenburg, Kentucky.
Oh, that's right by Fort Knox.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he moved up here and actually lived over in Union.
Okay.
Back there, and then went to. He was going to school at Northern, and then.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't even know how I got hooked up with him.
Yeah.
I think he come out to racetrack and started helping me one night.
Seen some crazy guy needs some help. I better jump in here and help this guy out.
But he and Philip and I, we just hit it off. I mean, we always had fun. I mean, it was just wherever me and Philip went, we just had that attitude. We didn't care.
Yeah, just having fun.
We was out there running and having fun, and and then Philip went to help. He left and went to work with Timmy McCready.
Right.
And Freddie, I think he helped Freddie first, and then he helped Freddie Smith, and then he went and helped Timmy. And then, he's done real well for himself, and happy for him. And then had Kenny Cruz Camp come and started helping me.
Okay.
And we got a championship with Kenny. Kenny's one of the hardest working guys you'll ever see out there on a race car. I mean, he helps his brother now, and he never said, I can't or I won't. I mean, it was like, And if you know Kenny, he's kind of disabled with that bad leg and stuff. And I mean, he would climb underneath that race car.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
He's
Didn't care about
in.
dirty.
Yeah.
I mean, that boy, he was hardest working guy that ever helped me.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was. He worked.
I think he's got a boy racing now too.
Yeah, I think he does.
Him and Chris both have boys racing. They're deep in those Crown Vics, man.
Yeah. Well, I think the boys got modified sport mods this year. One of them does, I think.
Okay. I was thinking I'd heard a rumor you might have been getting a Crown Vic.
No.
Come on, man. The comeback kid in the Crown Vic. That's just a rumor?
It's just a rumor.
Oh, man. I thought we was on to something. Yeah, breaking news. You heard it here first.
If it was up to John Weber, I'd be back in a race car.
Oh, okay.
Because John Weber wants me back in a race car. But, I mean, he's always calling me, see, I got this deal going. I can get this. And it's like, I would love to do it again.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I stepped away because I've got more time with the grandkids, and it's less stressful, less money, and
I'm sure we could probably get a Crown Vic ride.
Oh, I'd be able to do that. That would probably be fun.
I bet it would be. I mean, those guys look like they're having a blast out there.
It almost looks like old school racing out there because everybody's so close to each other.
Man, I tell you what, this one guy, I cannot remember his name. I can find it. We got pictures of it. They came from over in Indiana, and this old guy, man, he was having a blast. He got out of his car and he said, "Man, this old girl came to hunt tonight." They had a blast. There was like him and his son, and they were having a blast.
Oh yeah, they do. I mean, I've watched Kenny and his sons, and Chris and his son, and they're running those Crown Vics out there, and they are having so much fun out there. And I mean, the boys are winning. I mean, they're doing a good job out there, and they're having fun, and
they're getting their feet wet.
Yeah, and
that's a good learning class.
It is.
I mean, I think that's something that people need to focus at and look at. It's like, hey, this is I don't know if I'm going to say it's the next greatest best thing, but man, somebody wanting to think about getting into racing. Yeah. Man, that's not a bad cup of tea.
Are they going to run those at Florence this year?
I think they're going to be there on a regular basis. Yeah, I believe I heard that.
I'm sure that class will probably get big, just like the compacts did in the beginning.
Yeah.
I remember when the compacts started out there, they were running 23-second laps. Now I think they're in the right around 20 flat.
Yeah, or 19s, depending on.
Yeah, I mean. It's just, and that happens in all the classes. I mean, it's happened in the crate class.
Yeah.
The crate class has gotten to, where when I was racing crates, I mean, I had real good equipment. Well, it's now where everybody's got good equipment out there.
You got to have great equipment.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to go out there and run the bottom of that racetrack in a crate anymore and be able to be competitive.
Right.
I mean, you got guys like Trent Green out there, and I mean, Trent's on top of his game right now.
Yes.
And he's hard to beat in the modified. He's hard to beat in that crate. I mean, he's a good little racer and stuff.
He's a good wheelman.
It's just the crate class it's came a long way.
Yes.
And it's
you talk about guys like that driving multiple classes. I mean, that's just nothing but more and more seat time. That's hard to beat.
It is. I mean, and I think that's why the local guys have problems when the big boys come in because, I mean, you said those guys run more races in February than the local guys run all year long.
Yeah, I have always said this, and this is just my opinion, but I definitely feel like the guys who go down, even if it's just a regional guy, they go down there in speed weeks in Florida, Georgia, or whatever. When they come back, all right, they've already knocked the dust off, and man, they're on the go pedal right now. Right. Where guys here seem like, oh man, they're just knocking that dust off and getting their program up and going. Well, man, you're a half a lap behind.
Right.
If you're not, just like anything, the more you do it, the better you are.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100% because the times that we did go to Florida and race,
you came back.
We were dialed in. We were good, and the best I ever ran. I was the one night out there in a Pierce car that I had, and it was the night before the Spring 50. They had I guess, two races. They had at Spring 50, and then they had a night before at that time. Yeah. And we were actually passing Kenny Christie. Kenny Christie was running second, and I went to pass him on the bottom, and Josh Williams was on the top side, and we went 3 wide down the back chute. Well, Kenny didn't know I was below, and Kenny hit me, and I hit the tires and absolutely destroyed that car. Ooh. And you know, we had a real good car, and you know, we had a chance of winning that night out there. And it was. I think a lot of it had to do with us going down there to Florida.
Yeah, I think it helps guys out a lot. I mean, I know driver up in Zanesville, Todd Brennan. You know, it seems like as long as I've been going down there, he's been there. You know, he may not be a front-running guy down there, but he's down there and he's getting his laps in. And then when he comes back, man, he's winning regional races.
Right.
You know, it's I think it helps a lot of teams out going down and doing that. You know, and again, it doesn't hurt. You're running with the best of the best down there too.
Right.
You know, so if you're on the same page with those guys, you're picking up your program from just running here.
Right, and it gives you a reality check as far as and nothing against the crate guys or the sport mod guys or anything like that, but when you run supers or you run a modified, it's hardcore racing. Those boys are, every one of them's up on the wheel, and they're like on the start of a race. When I was running crates, there were some times where guys in front of me were kind of, I don't know what the word is, but they would kind of lay back because they were a little timid going into that corner. But
there's no timidness.
There's no timidness running with those guys from supers, and the guys in the modifieds are that way too. I mean, it's you know, it's a completely different ball game.
Yes, it's a different animal.
Yeah,
I mean by far a different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's but yeah, we you know, we've had a blast in that crate class. I really did. I mean, I really enjoyed running that crate class. Probably almost as much as I did when I was running go-karts.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was.
That says a lot.
Yeah, and you know, I did run some asphalt in the go-karts down in. There's a track in. I got to tell you this. It's down in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
It's down, I believe, at 102nd Street, and we were down there running go-karts at over 100 mile an hour down the back chute. The back chute down there is like 800 or 900 feet long.
Wow.
And you actually draft down there.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to run that.
Now, this have been the lay down carts that you laid down more in, or were they like
no? They were stand up carts. They were sit up carts.
I don't know what the difference is. I know there's a word, I can't remember what it's called.
The shifter carts are kind of more of an enduro cart.
Yeah.
Where they you lay down in those.
Seems like you're just laying down in your head.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, we did that in the carts that we were in, but we sat upright, but you would have to crunch over top just to get down to draft behind people and stuff. And I mean, that was fun down there. We were running, you know, over 100 mile an hour down the back stretch. That was with 5 horsepower Briggs.
That is cooking in a go-kart.
Oh, yeah. And then the HPVs, the 100cc HPVs at that time, I think we were like 112 down the back chute on those. Yeah. And I mean, but I was a lot younger then.
Right.
I wouldn't do it now.
Come on, why not?
Maybe once.
Tell me about, okay, you've had a lot of cars, names. What's maybe the craziest, how do you come up with a name for one of your cars? What's the craziest name or story you have for naming one of your cars?
I guess probably it wasn't really crazy, but it was kind of a different name. We had a car that Jeff Ryan sponsored me with when he was with I can't remember the name of his company that he used to sponsor me, but he was always at the races.
Okay.
And he was big into fitness and stuff. Jeff was, and there was a woman weightlifter named Samantha Briggs.
Okay.
Jeff wanted to name the car Samantha. So we named the car Samantha Briggs and had it going across the back of it. But that was probably one of the standout names that we had. I mean, we had, you know, goofy name, Crowd Pleaser, and, just stuff like that. But I mean, that one kind of stood out more because that was kind of a special car.
I knew, like, one of Daryl's cars, Moneymaker. That thing's still around, I hear.
Oh, yeah. Well, I believe Billy Vaughn's going to be in that.
I thought maybe I might have heard that, too.
Yeah. Billy has got Moneymaker. That was actually the car that John was trying to get for me to go back into crate racing and stuff. And, you know, it just didn't, like I said, I want to do it, but I know better.
Yeah.
And,
you know better. Whoa. Whoa.
Well,
that's saying a lot. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, just the things that have changed in my life. And I mean, I'm not a young pup anymore, and it's just kind of but yeah, there's Moneymaker, and then, the first car that Darrell and Randall actually built for me was a Rocket, and we changed it to a Club 29. And that was one of the first Club 29 cars that we built.
Now, did you have, or did I hear a rumor that you had something to do with naming?
Well, I don't know if I really named it, but
how did that come about?
Darrell always had this thing where he said, man, if I ever do this or do that, I ever quit, he said, I'd like to open a bar up and call 29 Club. And I thought, what about Club 29? He goes, yeah, that even sounds better, Club 29. So then we put that, Randall and Darrell built that Rocket for me.
Yeah.
And then Darrell raced it out there the first night. Well, then we put a Club 29 sticker on it. So then, I mean, I don't know if I'd take credit for it or not, but I mean, it was kind of like,
You might have had a little influence there.
Yeah, but Darrell and Randall built that car, and Darrell went out there and raced it the first night and won in it. And then we were out there another night, and Audie was running for points, and he had blew a motor up in one of John's cars, and he come over to me, and he goes, care if I run your car? I said, I don't care. So, well, they ended up putting Audie on the tail because he was, and that was back when you had, 24 cars starting out there. Well, Audie come from dead last up to third in 4 laps.
Holy. And
then ended up winning the race. And the only thing we did was change the shocks and springs on it. He put shocks and springs on it, went out there, and I remember Jerry coming over there, and he started looking at this and looking at that. He says, everybody that gets in this race car wins. He says, there's something illegal about it. And he wanted to take the MSD box and all this other stuff and everything. And, I said, whatever you want. But, it was a good car, and that was when the 13-degree motors had came out. And, Dargy had built, it was one of Dargy's first 13-degree motors that he had built at that time.
Yeah.
And, that thing was a little over 800 horsepower. And back in, I don't know when that was, 2009, I guess.
Right.
Back then, you didn't.
That was a pretty nice piece.
Potent,
yeah.
And that car, Darrell put all his experience and stuff in it, and changed some stuff on the front of it and things on the back of it, and it was a pretty good car.
Nice piece.
It was a real nice piece.
Huh. Very good. Jeff, I think we could probably go on forever. Oh, yeah. We're probably going to wrap things up. Anybody, I know you've mentioned a lot of names, people that helped you out. Any sponsors, anybody particular that you can think of maybe that we didn't talk about throughout that?
One of my biggest helpers has probably been John Weber. Yeah. People, they see John out the racetrack, and you do not realize how many people John helps out. Yeah. He's for him not to be. I think he needs to be in the Hall of Fame for sportsmen or something like that, or whatever that class is, because John helps out so many people.
Right.
He has over his entire year, years of racing and stuff like that. And him and Gary Clayton. Gary used to build the Dazzler chassis a long time ago, and him, and we call him Wool, and he helped me out for I don't know how many times, and then Willie was always there for me, and Darrell's always been there for me, and if I need to get a hold of Jason's, I called Jason too and talked to him and stuff.
I need to get Jason on the show.
Good luck even getting him to call you back.
Right, there you go. That's the program I'm on. I am not getting a call back. Jason Jameson, come on, man. You need to call me, right?
But and there's another person that I need to thank, and I don't do it enough. And he's helped me out, not in racing as much as what he did for my grandson. it's kind of hard to hold back tears, but he owns This and That Barbecue up there, Smoking This and That Barbecue,
yeah.
Guy Cummins.
Yeah.
And I mean, when my grandson was diagnosed in November of 2019 with cancer and leukemia.
You guys had a big benefit deal up there.
And Guy opened his place up, and I mean, I could never thank him for what he did. I had race car people up there. Yeah. I mean, the place was packed. I had a Derek Allen band up there. They played, and you know, we had all these guys, different people. I mean, we had a Scott Bloomquist door up there that sold for $1,600.
Nice.
Yeah, and the guy that bought it, I don't want to mention his name because, you know, I don't want people going after him saying, well, I've got this charity and stuff. But I mean, this guy's from out in Nebraska. I've never met him.
Okay.
He ended up buying over $8,000 worth of doors off of us. I mean, he bought the Bloomquist door. I believe he bought the Dale McDowell door. He even bought, I mean, like, I think he bought one of Stevie's doors.
Really?
You know, he didn't just buy not only the big guys, he bought some of the local. If one of the local guys' doors wasn't going very much, this guy would run the bid up to $400.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it's going to a good cause.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't, you know, that guy just, the money, you know, he's never met me. I've never met him. And we were skeptical about it because I thought, you know, here's this guy bidding all this stuff and everything. But I'm telling you what, he ended up paying for all those doors right away and stuff like that. And then it was just, but what Guy Cummins did that night for my daughter and my grandson and stuff. And I mean, we ended up with all the race car drivers and the donations and the raffles and stuff. That one night, we raised over $25,000.
Wow.
And
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And I mean, it's just, and you know, you can't thank people like it.
Sure.
You get busy in life and you start remembering stuff like that, and you're like, man, I should do this or I should do that, and check on him. And I'm one of the worst people about that.
Yeah.
But Guy, you know, he's really, you know,
good-hearted guy.
He is. And I mean, he's had a lot of fundraisers, and then I just got a call on the way over here. My other grandson, Tyler, who is Drew's older brother.
Okay.
He is doing a thing for children's cancer.
Okay.
And he has had different raffles. They had a event at EvoFit up in Ohio where people would come in, pay $25 or something like that, and they'd go through a training course one morning, and there was there was tons of people up there. There was probably close to 100 people up there.
Yeah.
And I got a call on the way over here. My daughter called me, and he has raised, in the last 3.5 months, has raised $49,400.
Wow.
I mean, to me, for a high school kid to do something like that. I mean, he's on junior in high school.
Junior in high school.
And I mean, Tyler Minaccio is his name, and you know, he's Drew's older brother.
Yeah.
And I mean, him and my daughter have just taken this on, and it's just, you know.
That's awesome.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it really is. It's just.
Well, that's awesome. We'll keep those guys in our thoughts and hope that they keep doing the successful things that they're doing. How's the grandson doing?
He's doing great. I mean, he's in remission and everything, and the cancer seems to be staying away. So he's 6 years old, and
little fighter there.
he is. The kid is not afraid of anything. We'll go to the lake and jump, and these teenage kids will jump off these cliffs. You know.
He's ready to do it too.
He jumps right off. I mean, there's kids will look over the edge, and Drew will run right past him and jump. I mean, kid's not afraid of nothing. I don't think I've ever seen him cry. I mean, he was at the point where he would take his chemo and stuff and do that himself, and you know, he's a very smart little kid for 6 years old.
Good. So, that's awesome.
But yeah, he's doing really well.
Well, we wish and hope and pray for nothing but the best for him
that
as well. Absolutely. Jeff, man, thanks a lot for coming, taking time, sitting down, and sharing some of these stories, man. I mean, some of them was great stories. I mean, like.
Oh, there's more, but.
Oh, I guarantee. Yeah, I mean, there's only so much time.
You're right. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I should do like a 3-hour episode one time. I mean, I don't know how many people would sit and watch the whole time.
For 3 hours, that's it. I mean, it's, you know, when you race that long and you know how it is. You meet people.
Sure.
And, you know, you become friends with people, and you know, I've got people at the racetrack that are just like family to me.
Yes.
I mean, it's just, you know, the Greens, you know, Brandon and all them. I mean, I've been friends. I was friends with Willie for, you know, we were 15 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and until Willie passed, and you know, and the Hensleys. I mean, I could go to, you know, Big Bob or Bobby Jean or Robbie or any of them, and I mean, if I needed something, I mean, they was at that auction and paid $500 for a little Pierce jacket, and I mean, you know, it's just stuff like that you see, and you know, the people that you meet out there in the racing world. It's just, it's one big family. I mean, it really is. Absolutely,
it sure is. Man, that's awesome. So what's next? What are you doing next? You just sit back and go to work every day? That's Jeff's life now?
Yeah, pretty much that. And then, you know, I got a place down in Cumberland now, and
do some fishing?
Well, I'm not much on the fishing. I like to tube. I like to ski, and you know, we like to get the boat and go back in a cove. I bought a Baja, a 27.5-foot Baja, and then I bought a 36-foot camper down there and put it down there on a place, and you know, we go down there 2 or 3 times a month in the summertime and
drink Kool-Aid.
Yeah, and I mean, we have fun down there. You know, my oldest son, he's got a place down there right by me. He's right, you know, and we kind of hang out down there, and then the girl that I date, Jennifer, her kids are down there, and I mean, you know, and the grandkids come down there, and you know, it's just, I miss racing, but you know, time like this, when you get older, it's just like, you know, you can't.
You had your fun.
Yeah, I had my fun. I did what I wanted.
You're good with it.
And, you know, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Right.
But you know, it's time to sit back and relax and enjoy life without less stress.
Good. Well, Jeff, we're gonna wish you that good life, man. Hope things keep going good. Business is good. Still working good.
Yeah.
Working a lot.
All
right, sounds good. Well, Jeff, thanks for taking the time, coming in, telling us some of your stories. I was pretty entertained. I think we're gonna have some viewers entertained as well. So that's that.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. All right, everyone, we're gonna wrap things up. I'm throwing checkered flag on this session. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys liked and enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share, tell all your friends, and I'll see you at the track next week. Thanks.